Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Nandi Tech Bytes. In this video, we are going to install Jenkins and Minikube on Mac. We will deploy a sample application using Jenkins CICD pipeline. And the most interesting thing in this video is troubleshooting our Jenkins pipeline failures. I have designed this video in a way that you will go through a lot of troubleshooting as we progress on the video. So please watch the video till the end. Key takeaways of this video are: you will get an understanding of how to install Jenkins using Homebrew and Minikube installation on Docker desktop, then integrating Jenkins with Minikube cluster, building and deploying a sample application using Jenkins CI/CD pipeline on Minikube Kubernetes cluster, a lot of troubleshooting as our pipeline is going to fail on most of the stages. So let's get started. I am installing Java 11 with Brew. The command is brew install Java 11. 11 is the Java version that I am using here. Java is required for Jenkins to run, so I am starting with Java installation first. I am fast forwarding the video as it takes around 10 to 15 minutes depending upon your network bandwidth. I have mentioned the GitHub repository for this tutorial on the description of the video. Okay, as you can see, our Java is installed on the system. Let's check the version using java -- version. Awesome, we got our first issue. Unable to locate Java runtime. We are getting this because the JSS shell is not able to locate any Java. Let's copy the export command from here and run it. Let me remove the extra code and we should be good. Now let's run the Java version command again. Perfect. We are getting the correct output now. Since we are done with the Java, let's install Jenkins using Brew. The command is brew install Jenkins LTS. I am installing the LTS version of Jenkins. By the time it gets installed, do let me know in the comment section if you are having any trouble in understanding, and please subscribe the channel. I have fast forwarded the installation to save some time, so if you are following along, then please pause the video. Seems like the installation is complete and it is asking us to start the Jenkins using the command brew services start Jenkins LTS. See, here is the command in the output. You don't have to remember all the commands. Let's run this and get the Jenkins started. Awesome, we are getting the message that Jenkins started successfully. Let us now open the Jenkins console on the browser. By default, Jenkins uses port 8080. We are going to use the same port. So I'm going to access Jenkins on http://localhost:8080. Perfect. Jenkins is asking to provide the default password. And also it's showing the path where we will get the password. Let's copy the path and using cat command, we can retrieve the password. Okay, let me copy this password and paste it on the Jenkins console. Now Jenkins is asking to install the plugins. Let's click on suggested plugins. Plugins are the primary means of enhancing the functionality of a Jenkins environment. There are over 1,000 different plugins which can be installed on a Jenkins controller, and to integrate various build tools, cloud providers, analysis tools, and much more. So everything you want to do in Jenkins, for that purposes, you have multiple plugins. So depending upon your use case, you can install the plugins. These plugins can be installed later also. We will go through that shortly. Till now, whatever we have done, it can be done on any system. If you are using Windows, then install a VirtualBox, and there also you can install Jenkins. The steps are almost similar, but the commands will vary a little. Okay, this will take some time. Meanwhile, let me fast forward this section. Now Jenkins is asking us to create our first admin user. Let's fill these details like username, password, full name, and email. Remember the username and password, as it will ask you next time if you try to log into your Jenkins console. Now it's asking for the Jenkins URL. For our use case, as we are accessing on our local source, this is correct. If you have public DNS mapping with your Jenkins server, then that URL can be used here. Okay, after all this, our Jenkins is ready. Now let's install few plugins. Clicking on Manage Jenkins, then Plugins, Available Plugins, then search for the plugins. I am searching for Docker pipeline, and let's search for Kubernetes. And that is Kubernetes. Yep. Let's click on this and click on install. Let me install one more plugin. Let's go to Available Plugins. I'm going to install Stage View because it shows the stages in a graphical in the console. Pipeline says, let's install Blue Ocean also. Yeah, let's click on install. By the time it's get installed, let me tell you why I am installing Docker pipeline and Kubernetes plugin. Docker pipeline is installed so that I can use Docker in my pipeline, and Kubernetes plugin will allow me to work with Kubernetes cluster. Okay, this is gonna take some time. Let us configure credentials for Docker Hub and let this installation run on background. So I am back to Manage Jenkins. Click on Credentials. Click on System, Global, Add Credentials. So by default, it comes with username with password. So if I click on the kind section, you will see there are GitHub app, OpenShift, username, password, SSH, secret file, secret text. So there are a lot of options you can configure. I am going with username with password. I am giving the username for my Docker Hub and the password here. ID is basically the name you want to give for the credentials so that you can refer it on the Jenkins pipeline. So I am seeing my Jenkins file here to verify what I am using. I am using here as okay. It's Docker Hub only. Fine. So I have given the correct. Let's click on create. So our first credential is created. Now let's go back and see what happened to our plugins installation. So I have to go back to again Manage Jenkins, Plugins. Now I have to go to Download Progress. So if you can see, all the plugins have been installed. I'm not going for restart. If you want, you can go for restart also. Let's create our first pipeline. So you have to give some name. I am giving name as Jenkins Minikube deployment. And then I'm going to choose pipeline. Cricket. In the description also, let's give it some name. It's optional, but let's give it some meaningful. Jenkins Minikube deployment. Perfect. We are not going to configure all this because we have a Jenkins file. We'll directly refer that. So for that, we need to choose under pipeline. Click on pipeline script from SCM. So SCM is our kit. And in the repository URL, we need to mention our GitHub repo where our Jenkins file is located. I'm copying this. I'll paste it here on the URL. This is a public repository. If it is a private one, you can add your credentials for the GitHub repo and you can add it here. For this video, I'm going with public GitHub repository, and in the branch, I'm giving it as main, create pipeline. Now let's click on build now. So as I've mentioned earlier on the video, that we will be having a lot of troubleshooting. Till now we have done only one troubleshooting, but from here, there will be a lot of failures that we are going to see, and we'll troubleshoot each of them, and I will explain them how we are going to find the errors and all in the console. So if you see, the error is could not find any definition of libraries, Docker build. So our Jenkins file has a library defined, but we have not configured any library here in Jenkins here. So for that, click on System, search for global mobile global trusted libraries. Right. Click on add. And the name you need to refer the same that has been mentioned in the Jenkins file. Let's verify the Jenkins file again. So if you see line number 1, the library is Docker build. So I'm going to use the same name. And the default version is you need to mention the branch of your GitHub. Right. So, and we need the URL also. Let's copy the URL again. Sometimes the GitHub is very slow. I'm not sure why. Maybe my internet issues. Okay. Let's copy this. And in the project repository, I need to paste this. Again, since it's a public, I'm not using any credentials. Clear. Now let's build again. I'm going inside the build job. Build now. Our build started. Let's view the console. And then it's progressing. So it's trying to fetch the GitHub repository. Okay, awesome. We ran into our third issue. The issue is error cert underscore password. So if you go to the Jenkins file, I'm opening the Docker file also. If you want to know more about the Docker file, I have a video on this. I will mention on the link. You can view there. So meanwhile, let's see, there is an argument called cert underscore password in the Docker file. So while building the image, we need to pass this argument or else the build will fail. So right now the error, what we are seeing in the Jenkins console, it basically is telling us that this line number 7, cert underscore password, credential cert underscore password is not configured in our Jenkins file, in our Jenkins console or server. So let's configure that. Click on Manage Jenkins, Credentials, click on System, Global, add credentials. So I'm going to select here secret text. The secret text, this is the password that I'm going to pass during the build as a build argument for my certificate on fair. So if you see, the ID is cert underscore password. So now if I run the build again, the Jenkins job will identify that this credentials is there and it will pick the credentials. Let's view the console output. It's fetching the bit repository. Okay. So it failed again. Nice. So now what it failed with Docker command not found. Right? So basically I'm running the Jenkins on my laptop and the Docker has to also to be installed on my laptop for this. I already have this installed. If you have not, you should install it. You will also get this error. But I have already installed it, but still I'm getting this error. So let's try to debug it more. Let me see. Let me restart my Docker again. So I have restarted my Docker desktop. Restart. Okay, my Docker desktop restarted successfully. Let's run some Docker commands on the terminal and let's verify if the Docker is working properly or not. Let's run docker ps and verify. Okay, I'm getting the correct output here. Looks like Docker is working fine, but our Jenkins user is not able to identify the Docker. So probably it's an issue with the path. Let's try to fix that. And for that, I'm going to define the global path for the Docker on the console. So click on Manage Jenkins System. And under System, let's search for Global. So Global Properties, Environment Variables, Add. So I need to add my Docker path here. So the name should be path. And for the value, let me go to the terminal again and run which Docker. So my Docker is installed and referring to the path user local bin. So I should update the path here. User / local / bin : / user / bin. So I am updating the path here so that next time whenever I run the Jenkins job, so the Jenkins user will be able to find the Docker and run the Docker build commands. Let's verify it again. Perfect. So let's click on it. Now let's go and run the build again. Click on build now. If you see our build started. If you remember the plugin that I've installed, Stage View, that plugin is showing me this graphical thing. So it's not mandatory, but if you want, you can install it. Right. So our build progress till build stage. Let's view the console output. Click on console output. If I scroll down, Docker build is okay. The Docker build command ran successfully. So it's building the image. I'm not going to explain the Docker file in this video because I have a separated dedicated video for that already. Okay. Let's see how the build progress, and hopefully we should get some error again. If you are not understanding anything in between, just update the comments section and with the timings so that I will be able to know where I am getting, while I'm not able to understand properly or not, right? So it failed again. So it failed on push. So I believe the Docker push command failed. Let's see what is the error. So Docker login -u DevOps and the password is I'm getting error response from the daemon set. So unauthorized incorrect username or password, right? So it seems the credentials that we have configured for Docker Hub initially is not correct. So we need to go and fix that. Then only we will be able to see whether it's working properly or not. But before that, let's verify the same username and password by manually trying to log in the Docker Hub. So I'll be using the same username here and the same password that I have already used in Jenkins credentials to verify that the credentials are correct or not, or there is some other issue. So it's trying to log in. Let's wait for some time. Okay, the login succeeded. Let me log out from this and let's see what is the issue. So let's verify the Jenkins file. So if you see in the Jenkins file, line number 9 and line number 11, the user already I am passing here directly on the Jenkins file, and the password is referring the Docker Hub. Let's see this stage. So the stage is Docker push environment user environment password. Okay. Let me see the shared library, how the variables are in. So if I go to docker push.gv, so here if you see the user is separated and the password is also given as a separate input. So what we need to do, we need to update our credential. So right now what we have defined is that we have given username and password. So I need to make it as a secret text and give only the password. For that, let's delete this one. In the update option, we don't have that option. So let's go and delete it first. And then I'm going to create another with the kind of secret text. So let's select secret text here. Secret or the same password I'm using here. And the ID should be Docker Hub. Right. Create. So perfect. Let's run the build again. Right. Now we should be able to push the Docker image correctly. I'm clicking on build now. Our build started. It's trying to build the image and image is built. It's trying to push. So once the push is done, the cleanup stage basically deletes the Docker image from my local laptop because it will unnecessary every time if I build the image, no, it will cost the storage for me. So once I'm pushing the image to Docker Hub, I'm just cleaning it up from my local. Perfect. So the build failed at the cleanup stage. It should fail because we haven't installed Kubernetes cluster yet. So we are going to install Minikube. Once we have installed the Minikube and the configuration is done with Jenkins, then we will run the pipeline again. Now we are going to install Minikube. So this is the official document. Just copy this command depending upon our OS. And I pasted it. I have chosen the Mac OS version. This command will also be there in my GitHub repository. You can refer from there also. Try to fork the repository or start it so that if there are any updates on the repository, you will get a notification, right? So it's asking for my password for the Minikube install command. So I'm giving my password here. It's trying to install. So it installed successfully. Now let's start the Minikube by using Minikube start command. It will take some time. So the container is up. So Minikube is like a container, Docker container only, which have all the cluster APIs built in it. And it's running on your local system upon Docker desktop if you have Docker desktop installed. It installed successfully. Let me try running kubectl get namespaces. Okay, I'm able to see the namespaces. It means Minikube is installed successfully. Now let's get the kubeconfig file and update it. So the kubeconfig file is located in .kube/config on your home directory. So I'm copying this. I will paste it on some notepad because before using it on our Jenkins server, I need to update this. Let me open some text editor. Okay. So I pasted it here and we will get these values. So I'm going to get the data from here and encode it with base 64. So if you're seeing, this is the certificate C So I need to use this, but before using, I need to convert it to base 64. So this is the command. I will copy this and I will update it on the kubeconfig file here. So, but before that, I need to add dash data here as I am passing the data directly. Okay. Now let's get the data for client certificate. This is certificate authority is done. Let's go for client certificate. The path will be already there. It depends upon your installation. So we can directly grab that path from the kubeconfig and using cat command with the base 64 pipe, we will get this output. The file should end with 2 equals to if you see. So if there is something else coming in there, then you need to update your encoding command, right? Ideally, if the kubeconfig and the path for the certificates are already available and accessible by Jenkins, then you don't need to update the kubeconfig with the data. But in most of the real-time use cases, the Jenkins jobs are run on agents which may be on the other server or Docker agents. So to be on the safer side, I'm going with this approach. So this is the last one, the client key. So I'm updating here. And in the client key, I need to update with client key dash data. Perfect. So this should be all in small. Fine. And let's verify it. The certificate authority is showing as capital, which should be in small again. So let's verify that again. So it should be certificate authority. This I'm changing it to C. Okay. Now let's copy this thing whole kubeconfig file and let's create a Jenkins credential. So for that, I'm going to manage Jenkins and credentials. I'm going to click on system, global, add credentials. Here I will be using a secret text again. So I'm pasting the kubeconfig file that I copied. I'm giving the name as kubeconfig. As in my Jenkins file also is using as kubeconfig only. So these two ID and the Jenkins file name should be same, otherwise there will be again an issue. So let's hopefully we should be able to run these steps now, create Kubernetes secret and deploy the Kubernetes and verify the deployment. Since our image is already pushed to the Docker Hub, I'm trying to resume this pipeline using Blue Ocean. So I'm in the Blue Ocean console right now. This is my last build which is failed. I'm going to click on restart create Kubernetes secret. So from that stage, we will start. Okay, the build started from the failure stage. And it's going to deploy Kubernetes and verify deployment, right? I think there is some issue because the verified deployment stage shouldn't take that much of time. We found our next issue. So let's try to dig down what is the issue. I'm going to manually check the deployments. So I'm in the terminal right now. Let's check kubectl get deployments and see what is the status here. And it's showing that the pods are not yet ready. So let's see the pods. And the pods are in container creating stage. Let's run the command again and see. No, the status is still the same. Let's see what's going on inside the pod. For that, I need to describe the pod and see. For that, I will run kubectl describe pod. And let me copy the pod name. And then paste it here. So in the describe section, if I say one volume setup failed for volume cert dash volume secrets. So HTTP cert secret not found. So basically the Kubernetes cluster is trying to tell us that this secret is not available in the cluster and the pod didn't get it. So the deployment is failing. I had made a typo on the Jenkins file. Because of that, the secret was not created. I already had that fix. Now let's rerun the pipeline again. I have clicked on build now and our build started. Let's go to the console output and say. So again it failed. Oh no, it didn't fail. It's going on. The overlogging done. Docker push is done. Let's see where it got failed again. So kubectl apply service is done. Again we are stuck with kubectl rollout setters deployment. Right now, if we go scroll up, I don't see any error in the console output. Well, I think we need to verify in the terminal and let's see the deployment status there. What's going on in the cluster. So I'm in the terminal. Let's see the deployments. kubectl get deployments and see what is the status. So the deployment says there are 2 pods, but pods are not in ready status. So if I see the pods, its status is showing CrashLoopBackoff. Let me delete one of the pod and see whether it comes up again up or not. So I'm just using the pod name here. The pod is deleted. Now let's see the pod status. So one of the pod got restarted and it's showing running. Let me delete the other one also and see whether that also comes up or not. Now again we should see kubectl get pods. Okay, now we are getting a different status, that is OOMKilled. Interesting. Looking at the pod status, it is clear that the container inside the pod is using more memory than the limit, and because of that, it got terminated. To fix this, I am going to update the deployment.yaml and the resource limit for the containers so that this time the memory issue is resolved. Adding here a resources section to set the memory and CPU limits for the container. Let's commit the changes and then we can restart our build again. Let me click on build now. Okay, our build started. This time it should run through successfully. I hope you are enjoying the troubleshooting sections. My purpose of this tutorial is to show how we can troubleshoot issues along with the installation of Jenkins and Minikube. If you have learned something, then please subscribe to my channel. By the time this build runs, let me share some more information on the Kubernetes plugin that we had installed. The Kubernetes plugin can also be used to configure clouds in Jenkins. So you can add a Kubernetes cluster so that you can run Jenkins jobs on Kubernetes cluster itself using pod templates. Okay, seems our job is successfully completed. Let's verify the pods now. Okay, the pods are in running status. If you were thinking earlier it was 2 pod and now showing only 1, it's because I also updated the deployment with 1 replica due to resource constraints. If you want to know more on the Jenkins shared library and the Jenkins file, then please comment on the section. I will make a dedicated video on it. Thank you for being there till the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in the next video. Till then, bye.